The Municipal League of St. Louis County 2 days ago released a statement to the media that they were going to push for a vote on a resolution that would welcome the city of St. Louis back into St. Louis County. Obviously non-binding, but they felt they needed to take this action. I took a look at it. Not a lot of specifics in it, but there was a vote last night. If you read the St. Louis Post-Dispatch today, you would be under the belief that that resolution passed. Here's what the Post says. Members of the Municipal League of Metro St. Louis gave its executive board the authority to begin talks with St. Louis city officials about becoming the 91st municipality of St. Louis County at a meeting on Thursday. I've got a couple people on the phone here who were at that meeting last night and have a little different take on exactly what went down. One is County Councilman Mark Harder. Mark, how are you? Mark, are you there? What? Hold on. Oh, hold on.
Hello?
That was operator error. Hang on just a minute. Let's try this again. Mark Harder, are you there?
Yes.
All right.
How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well, thank you. And we have Mayor Jim Boland from the city of Wildwood. Mayor, how are you?
I'm fine, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I appreciate you both giving me a little bit of time today. I was unable to attend this meeting last night, but I found it pretty fascinating when I woke up this morning to read the Post leading people to believe that this thing was moving forward and that talks were going to begin with St. Louis city officials. And I was hearing a very different version of this from some people who attended the meeting. Mayor, let me start with you, if you don't mind. You found out about this at about the same time I did and chose to attend that meeting last night. How did that meeting go through your eyes?
Well, I thought it was a good meeting, Mark. My responsibility is to Wildwood and its residents, and I realize that we are part of the region and impacted by it, and we're glad that's the case. I thought going into the meeting that the issue deserved more discussion before taking action on any sort of approval. And in fact, to your question, and I'm the one that made the motion, that we do exactly that. We don't express an opinion as to whether one way or the other as to whether to do it, that we simply engage the relevant stakeholders in further discussion because we need to find out what are the terms. Every transaction has terms. So before we go down that road, what are those terms? And so I, too, was taken back by some of the press that had come out this morning and last night on the characterization of what that motion was. It passed almost unanimously, in fact, and I think maybe they might have gotten their information from the Metro Muni League Facebook page, which I believe they've corrected since then.
Well, that's good. Let me go to Mark Harder real quick. Mark, what you obviously attended last night as well, interested in finding out what was going to go down. What was your interaction at that meeting?
Well, it was very well attended. It was probably their best attended meeting of the year. And everybody, I think, was a little bit up in arms and a little bit of apprehension about the whole subject matter because of the short turnaround and the sparse information that got out about the meeting. So I think a lot of people came in there with, different agendas and hidden or otherwise, and wanted to listen to the discussion. And the discussion was fairly lengthy and got a lot of things out. But to have this meeting as one that is somehow we're going to vote on county reunification at this meeting was a stretch at best. And I applaud Jim for his motion, which basically said that if you want to talk, let's talk. But we're not getting into the specifics. We're not going to commit to anything. Basically, we're going to agree to talk about talking.
Well, the executive director of the Municipal League, Pat Kelly, came on the show to try to explain a little bit of what they were proposing. I read the document. It was rather vague to begin with, but he claimed that they'd been considering this since 2013, and they finally felt it was necessary to take action of some sort. for anybody who understands how municipal government works, I mean, there's probably not a mayor out there, Mayor Boland, who wouldn't have wanted to go back to their respective council and have a pretty lengthy discussion on this issue before they were called in to vote on something like that, and that may have led to part of the anxiety last night.
I would agree with that, Mark, and I did feel exactly as you just described it. For any issue, and certainly an issue of this magnitude, to get notice of it, rather as a matter of days, before the meeting, where, as Mark indicated, the desire is to have a vote on the reunification or the merger. Really, from just a process standpoint, I thought put everyone under the gun, and I agree. I think it did cause a lot of anxiety at the meeting. Yeah,
and Mark Harder, as a member of county council, I mean, I'm looking at the vague description of what bringing the city back into the county might mean, but realistically, it would mean immediately. This is from looking at the petition. There's some group called St. Louis Strong that now has an online petition to try to get a statewide vote on this issue. I don't know if they've gained any ground or not. I just found out about the effort today. But it would call for immediately 2 people being added to the county council to represent the city in the instance that something like that happened. And then it would call for a reapportionment at some point to decide how many representatives the city should have on county council. This upsets a lot of apple carts.
It does. And unfortunately, people are getting into the weeds on some of these issues that are not even on the table at this point. I mean, this is so complicated of an issue, and everybody thinks that, we can all take a vote one day and make this happen. There are so many moving parts to this issue, pro and con, that a vote of a municipal league or any other group out there that says that they can make a statement and then suddenly it will be is very naive at best. And when you look at what would have to happen, even under a reunification of the city into the county, and all the political subdivisions that would be affected by that, from the recorder of deeds to the police to the health department, you name it, courts, and so on, and all the little political jurisdictions. I mean, it's something that they're getting way ahead of themselves, and we have to work on, if somebody wants this, and that's a big if, that this would even be feasible. You've got to work out all these other details before any kind of possible vote or anything of the people, both in the city, county, and state, would ever happen. And there's just so many details that would have to be worked out for any of that to happen. And I equate it to taking apart a cuckoo clock and creating a pocket watch with a blindfold on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things, and trying to make it work. And one of the things that was frustrating with me last night was we're still listening to the same old arguments of if we combine these offices, suddenly the St. Louis area would prosper, and there'd be gold streets and everything else out of this. And it's ridiculous to think that just to reunifying the city into the county, that suddenly by changing the statistics, all of our crime would go away, all of our issues in the city and the region would somehow go away because we changed the statistic books, and that's naive. It's very naive.
Yeah, I would agree. And Mayor Boland, did you get an impression? Are they going to form a new committee? Are they going to be a little more inclusive of some of the membership as this thing moves forward with the study?
Mark, that's a great question, and I don't know the answer to that. I think that's up to the leadership of the league. I'm hopeful that they do just that. I think that it's important, for the proponents of this to have as much buy-in and consensus as they can to.
Mary, you there?
Everything falls. I'm here.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, you cut out for a minute. Are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
I think your question is a great one, and I don't know the answer to what the league's going to do going forward. I hope that they are inclusive as much as possible, because frankly, for even the proponents of such a merger, to get as much buy-in and consensus as they can, I think that would likely help their cause. I think the last thing that I would expect they would want is to, frankly, do what was proposed ahead of this meeting, which is to make this decision before we have the knowledge of what the terms are. And as I said, I represent the citizens of Wildwood and have its interest at heart, and I think that they want to know before we would go down this road, what are those terms? And to Mark's point, which was a very good one, and we discussed this last night, no one disagrees. Every metro area has some things they need to fix. We certainly do. The crime, dilapidated buildings, and a lot of issues in the city, frankly. But where is the evidence that shows a structural change will resolve all of those? And I think that the residents of Wildwood would like to see that evidence.
Yeah, it's a good point. Mayor Jim Boland from Wildwood, County Councilman Mark Harder, thank you both for your time.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you both for joining us. And obviously, this thing hasn't happened as it was portrayed in the Post.